3 minutes after I died, my aunt sold my third younger sister to a fool for 2 jade of millet. She smiled as she took away the grain the villagers had donated to help us, saying she was keeping it for us. Before my father died, he helped her family, leaving them rations even if it meant gnawing on tree bark himself. What he got in return was her stripping off my cotton-padded jacket and leaving me to freeze to death in the snow. The night my body went cold, my 5 younger brothers and sisters stayed by my side and cried the whole night through. No one knew that the first thing I did after crawling out of the grave pit was go to her house and take back what belonged to us. In the winter of 1960, I starved to death. Truly, unmistakably starved to death. My last memory before dying was boiling the last bit of frozen vegetable leaves at home into soup, pushing it toward my 5 younger brothers and sisters, and telling them I'd already eaten at Aunt's house. When had I ever eaten there? My aunt, Su Guiying, stripped off my cotton-padded jacket and tossed me a few rotten vegetable leaves, then drove me out like she was shooing away a beggar. I braved the heavy snow and walked several li of mountain road home, without a single piece of warm clothing on me and not a grain of rice in my stomach. That very night, I went cold. My younger brothers and sisters cried their hearts out, while the neighbors gathered around the earthen pit and sighed, lamenting that the Qin family was truly finished with no heirs left. My aunt, on the other hand, was quite eager. Right there on the spot, she wanted to marry off my third younger sister to the village idiot for 2 jade of millet, even calling it a way to give you all a chance to live. I heard it. I heard every single word clearly, but I couldn't move. Not until a warm current surged out from the antique jade pendant on my chest and washed through all my limbs and bones did I suddenly sit up in the earthen pit. Good heavens, the dead have come back to life. Run. The people around me were so frightened they fled downhill in a panic, stumbling and scrambling. My third younger sister let out a scream and ran, dragging the younger brothers and sisters with her, but I grabbed her ankle. Instinctively, she shoved me away and, crying and wailing with the children, ran dozens of meters away. I crawled out of the earthen pit, my whole body so stiff it wouldn't obey me, and mumbled, "Don't leave me behind. It's so cold." Later, my third younger sister told me that at the time they were scared out of their wits. But that was their second brother. Whether I was human or ghost, they couldn't just abandon me. So they ran back. 7-year-old little Seven was the first to take off his padded jacket and wrap it around me, and the others followed suit. Those half-grown children somehow managed to carry a frozen living person back to the wooden hut on the mountain. Half an hour later, I had completely recovered. That warm current inside my body unlocked a portable space, for mu of land, divided into 2 areas. In one area, time moved 10 times faster than in the outside world, and things could be planted and raised there. The other area had stopped time and could only store inanimate objects. Harvesting could accumulate points, and every 100 points earned 1 draw. The original host's memories also fully merged. My name is Qin Chuan, from Wang family village on the outskirts of the capital. My father was a mountain patrolman and ranger. 2 months ago, he took my eldest brother into the mountains to hunt and never came back. My mother starved to death last year. That left 5 younger brothers and sisters. The oldest, my third younger sister, was 16, and the youngest, little Seven, was only 7. The whole family was so poor that all we had left was a mountain clearing axe worn shiny with use and a wooden hut that let in wind from all 4 sides. I sat on the kong, looking at the 5 children gathered around me. Every one of them was so thin they were skin and bones. With his cotton-padded jacket off, little Seven looked exactly like a big-headed doll, not because his head was big, but because there wasn't a bit of flesh on his body besides bone. The sound of stomachs rumbling rose and fell one after another, yet not a single one of them said they were hungry. Third said with reddened eyes, "Brother, there's nothing left to eat." "No, that can't be right." I frowned. When I was lying in the pit, didn't someone say our family had received relief? Where's the stuff? Third's mouth trembled, and tears pattered down. Aunt took it all away. She also took 2 jade of millet and forced me to marry Heir Juzi, saying she'd come pick me up first thing tomorrow morning. Brother, that Heir Juzi drools whenever he looks at me. I'm scared. I don't want to marry him. A surge of rage shot straight to my head. Heir Juzi was the village's notorious complete idiot. He hit people, spat everywhere, and in summer he'd pull down his pants and even scare old ladies. Su Guiying sold my little sister for just 2 jade of millet? And that's not all. After Dad and eldest brother had their accident, the villagers pitted us and gave us quite a bit of grain. Su Guiying came over saying she was the elder and should keep it for us, so she moved everything to her house. And then, she fooled outsiders with 2 meals to shut their mouths, then turned around and threw us out, and never gave us another grain of rice. A few days ago, I was so hungry I really couldn't hold out anymore. So I wore the family's only roe deer fur coat to her house to borrow some grain. She tricked me out of that fur coat with a few rotten cabbage leaves. I came back and boiled the leaves into soup for my younger brothers and sisters, without taking a single bite myself, saying I'd already eaten at Annie's house. That night I died, and now she's using the same trick again, sweeping away everything the villagers gave us, and even trying to split up my younger brothers and sisters and stuff them into other people's homes. Is this family? This is fucking devouring people whole. I got down from the Kong and asked third sister, "Where's my cotton padded jacket?" Annie took that too, said she'd alter it for old 7 and add some cotton. Bullshit. Third sister learned needlework from mom. Couldn't she alter it herself? This is driving people to their deaths. Third sister, lend me your cotton padded jacket and pants. You get under the covers. Brother, eat something first. Old 6 pulled a potato the size of a palm out of his clothes, something he had just picked up by the edge of the dirt pit. The 5 children stared at that potato, their Adam's apples bobbing, their eyes practically glowing green. I cut the potato into chunks and threw them into the pot to boil, then put on third sister's set of cotton padded jacket and pants, small and tight as they were. I could barely tie the waistband, and the pant legs were far too short, leaving everything from my ankles to my heels exposed. Third sister's shoes didn't fit either. They were a size too big, but Su Guiying had long since stripped mine away. Before I get back, you all eat the potatoes. Every single one of you has to eat. That's an order. With that, I pushed the door open and plunged headfirst into the wind and snow. It was only 5 or 6 li of mountain road, but I still walked for a full hour, trudging through the snow, one deep step and one shallow step. My ankles first hurt like they were being stabbed with needles, and then went completely numb, and I stopped feeling cold instead. On the way, I saw quite a few strange tracks, and I didn't need to guess to know they were left by those fellow villagers who had come to bury me, fleeing down the mountain in a panic like dogs paddling after being scared by my corpse coming back to life. By the time I reached the village entrance, it was almost dark. Smoke was rising from Su Guiying's earthen house, and there were people talking inside. You're not allowed to go out during this time, and no one's allowed up the mountain either. What's wrong, Mom? Qin Chuan came back to life. He crawled out of the grave pit. The team leader just finished the meeting, and in a bit he'll lead people up there to beat him down. That's a hungry ghost. He'll eat whatever he catches. He'll eat people. No, this cotton padded jacket and these shoes can't stay at home. Tomorrow I'm going into town to trade them off on the black market. I kicked the door open. Inside, for people, Su Guiying and her 3 daughters all turned to look at me in unison, then let out the most shrill scream of their lives. The 4 of them shrank into the corner, wishing they could claw a hole through the wall and crawl out. Su Guiying's face was white as paper, and her whole body was shaking like a leaf. I ignored her and walked straight to the wicker basket. My cotton padded jacket and cotton shoes were sitting right on top. After putting my own clothes back on, I placed third sister's set into the basket. When I turned my head, I saw a roe deer fur coat hanging on the wall, my father's keepsake, passed down through the old Qin family. Dad and eldest brother had deliberately not worn it the day they went into the mountains, afraid that if they didn't come back, such a fine thing would be wasted. Now they were on Su Guiying's family. I yanked them off and put them on, then lifted the basket in the corner. 3 cloth sacks, millet, cornmeal, and rice, adding up to at least over 200 jin. Rice and millet are both fine grains. For an ordinary family, even eating cornmeal is considered pretty good. Who would be willing to hoard this? It should have been traded for coarse grain long ago. She really knows how to squirrel things away. Su Guiying didn't dare make a sound, only hoping I'd take the clothes and leave quickly and definitely not eat anyone. That was until my hand reached toward that basket. If you dare touch it, I'll fight you to the death. I turned and glanced at her without saying a word. Can I touch it? My hand reached into the basket, and with a thought, the 3 bags were collected into the space without even a single grain of rice left behind. In the eyes of Su Guiying's family, I had just put my hand in and pulled it back out empty, taking nothing at all. They thought they'd scared me off. I looked around again and saw wild chives, dandelions, and bok choy planted in the corner. Every household would pile some dirt indoors to grow a few vegetables, watering them with human waste. In the bitter cold, this bit of green was all they had to count on. Su Guiying's family had planted quite a lot. I squatted down and swept my hand from left to right, leaving not a single root or leaf behind, collecting it all into the 10 times accelerated field in my space. As I stood up, I saw a bow hanging on the wall. The grip had been polished to a bright shine, smooth with an oily patina, obviously an old piece. I took it down and tested it, at least 50 or 60 pounds. And fully drawn, it would be pushing 80 or 90 pounds. If not for that current of heat inside my body transforming it, with the original owner's physical condition, there was no way I could have drawn it. Put the bow down, that's our family's. Su Guiying shouted with forced courage. I picked up the earthen basket and took out the 10 potatoes inside, setting them on the ground. 10 potatoes for your bow. We're even. After saying that, I turned and left. The moment the door closed, Su Guiying started screaming like she was mad. Help. Qin Chuan's corpse has come back to life and come down the mountain to steal things. He's going to eat people. The team had just finished a meeting and was about to grab their tools and head up the mountain. The moment they heard the commotion, they all came rushing over in a dark mass. Hoes, clubs, sickles, plowshares, they were carrying all sorts of things. When they saw me standing at Su Guiying's doorway, the whole group stopped in unison, and not a single one dared step forward. I got straight to the point. The cotton-padded jacket was mine to begin with. The roe deer hide coat was handed down from my grandfather. The bow was exchanged for 10 potatoes, and the things in the basket were what you all gave my family, which she tricked away from us. I'll count these as borrowed. I, Qin Chuan, will remember your kindness and repay it tenfold. He's a reanimated corpse. He's a ghost. Beat him to death. Su Guiying wailed in a shrill voice. I turned and fixed her with a deadly stare. You mad dog. If my family hadn't helped you last year, you mother and daughters would have starved to death long ago. My father would rather gnaw bark himself to save rations for you, and whenever he caught game, he'd send a share to your family. And what happened in the end? As soon as something happened to my family, you cheated my younger brother and sister out of all their life-saving grain. My brother and sister ate only a few rotten vegetable leaves in 3 days, while your family hoarded over 200 jade of grain and wouldn't give them a single grain of rice. From this moment on, the Qin family and you, Su Guiying, are finished with each other forever. Team leader Wang Shengli nervously stepped forward. Qin Chuan, are you really not dead? I took his hand. Uncle Wang warm. Oh, warm. Alive. Wang Shengli let out a long breath. Huh, so there really are people who stop breathing and then come back around. It's good that you're alive. Good that you're alive. I stuffed that bag of millet into Wang Shengli's hands. The matter of marrying off my younger sister was something Su Guiying agreed to. I never once nodded to it. She has 3 daughters, enough for Ertsuzi to pick from. From now on, my family and hers will have nothing to do with each other till death. Please all of you be witnesses. Then I pointed at the basket in my hand. I'll borrow these potatoes and vegetables for now and repay at least tenfold. Many thanks to everyone for seeing me off at my funeral. I'm leaving. I turned and walked away. I'd only taken 2 steps when Su Guiying started howling again. Captain, he stole my family's grain. All my family's grain is gone. Wang Shengli's face darkened. What nonsense. You think we can't tell whether someone is carrying grain or not? Exactly, Guiying, this is going too far. No wonder they won't acknowledge you. The crowd waved their hands in disgust and dispersed. Su Guiying slumped at the doorway, then suddenly seemed to think of something, scrambled up, and ran toward Zhao Lao's house. On the way back up the mountain, I was calculating my next move. More than 200 jade of grain had been stored in my space, and those wild vegetable seedlings were growing like crazy in the 10 times accelerated field, so at least I wasn't going to starve for now. But this rundown wooden hut, this mountain sealed off by heavy snow, this life of worrying about the next meal after finishing the last one, I couldn't keep living like this forever. Just as I was thinking, a gray blur flashed through the corner of my eye. A rabbit. By reflex, I crouched down, yanked a handful of wild chives and dandelion greens from the field in my space, crushed them in my hands to squeeze out the juice, rolled them into a vegetable ball, and tossed it into the distance. Then I knocked an arrow, drew the bowstring, and pulled 2 more arrows from the quiver, sticking them into the snow in front of me. Half crouching in a hollow in the snow, I stayed perfectly still. In the bitter cold, snow poured down my collar, and my ankles had long since gone numb. But I gritted my teeth and held on, staring without blinking in the direction of the vegetable ball. More than 10 minutes later, a gray wild rabbit darted out. It stopped again and again, testing the situation several times before finally lowering its guard and burying its head to nibble at the vegetable ball. I slowly drew the bowstring. The taut creaking sounded especially clear in the silent snowy field, but the rabbit was too absorbed in eating to notice at all. I let the arrow fly, but it was a little off, sinking into the rabbit's hind leg. The rabbit struggled to run, and I lunged at it directly, half rolling and half crawling, pinned its head with one hand, and twisted hard. Lifting it up for a look, I saw what a fat, big gray rabbit it was. Well now, Da Chuan, You've got quite the luck." A deep, rough-edged voice drifted over with the wind. I turned my head and saw a man in his 40s or 50s, wearing a dog fur hat and a sheepskin coat, with cowhide hula boots on his feet and a turtle shell pistol in his hand, a Mauser C96. Zhao Kuei, nicknamed Zhao Laowu, was the village's old thug, a black market trader who operated on his own. He was no good thing, but he could get things other people couldn't, so in the village his words carried more weight than even the team leaders. With the mountains sealed by heavy snow, he wasn't up here with a gun to hunt. Zhao Laowu swaggered up in front of me and jerked his chin at the rabbit in my hand. I said nothing and handed the rabbit over. He took it, weighed it in his hand, and said, "Pretty fat. Where's the grain? Where did you hide it?" I instantly understood where Su Guiying's more than 200 gene of grain had come from. They were having an affair. I patted my belly and grinned, ate it, and shat it out. Zhao Laowu stared at me for 2 seconds, probably deciding there was no point arguing with an idiot. His eyes shifted, and he slung an arm over my shoulder, leaning in close as he said, "Da Chuan, I know a way to cook this rabbit. It's delicious. Come on, let's go to your place, and I'll teach your little sister how to make it." He steered me up the mountain with an arm around me, his hot breath spraying my face, carrying the stench of cheap tobacco mixed with rotten teeth. "In a bit, take all your younger brothers and sisters outside. Leave only third girl at home. If I don't call you back, don't come back. I guarantee your sister will stew this rabbit till it's mouth-wateringly fragrant." I turned my head to look at him. "In a couple of days I'll bring some more meat and teach your 6th sister and 7th sister too. Those 2 girls are young, but they're about old enough to do what needs doing. Might even have a flavor all their own. From now on, Uncle will often bring you meat to eat." He smiled until his eyes narrowed to slits, revealing a mouthful of yellow teeth. I smiled too, brilliantly, so brilliantly that even I felt it was a little fake. In the depths of Qin Chuan's eyes, a cold glint flickered, but the smile on his face did not fade. "You're so kind. But it's cold outside. Can you let me wear the hat? Otherwise, if it takes you too long, I won't be able to stand it." Hearing this, Zhao Kuei laughed loudly. "Sure. Never worn such a good hat before, have you? Come on, feel it." He raised his hand to take off the hat. In an instant, Qin Chuan clenched his hand and took out a bow and arrow from the space. With a soft thud, he thrust it straight at Zhao Kuei's chin, then shoved upward just like that, skewering his head like a kebab. Gurgle, glug glug, blood clogged his mouth, and his eyes were filled with fear and shock. Qin Chuan dusted off the dogskin hat and kicked him, looking at Zhao Kuei lying on the ground. "You think I'm easy to bully, huh?" He picked up the turtle shell that had fallen into the snow. He often went to the shooting club too, so guns weren't unfamiliar to him, but this turtle shell was really his first time handling one. He raised it and aimed at Zhao Kuei's head, then hesitated again for a moment. He lifted his foot and kicked the end of the arrow stuck in the chin. It sank in another 5 inches. Zhao Kuei stopped moving immediately, with only steaming blood flowing out. He's not even worth wasting a bullet on. He put the gun away, stripped off the sheepskin coat and hula shoes, and checked every pocket. Well now, there was even a pack of dakiamen and 12 yuan. He put the things into the space. The corpse, the blood-stained snow, even the dirt underneath stained with blood, all got collected into the space. Then he tidied up the scene a bit. No joke, even if you brought a hunting dog, it wouldn't catch the scent or find the person. He lit a cigarette and exhaled deeply. For some reason, it smelled amazing. There was also a kind of lightheadedness. He slapped his forehead. The original owner of this body didn't know how to smoke. The first drag of a cigarette. How could that not feel good? His steps paused, and he just stood where Zhao Kuei had originally been lying, slowly savoring it. He looked at his own hand. After stabbing like that and killing someone, why was there not the slightest ripple in his heart? Had he really reached this state? Chapter 5: The Wonder of the Lottery. In the dead of winter, it gets dark early. By the time he returned to the cabin, it was already dark. From far away, he could vaguely make out a row of figures of different heights. "Bro, is that you?" Fourth shouted with arms spread wide. "Hey, get back inside." Qin Chuan called back. He also quickly took out the bow and arrows, quiver, and dirt basket, carrying them in his hands. He absolutely couldn't tell anyone about the space, not even his own younger brothers and sisters. It wasn't that he didn't trust them. They were just too young and didn't understand how dangerous people's hearts could be. So they could easily be tricked into letting it slip. "Look at this," not listening again. He told them to go inside, but they insisted on running toward him. "Second brother, bro. Guaguo. What is all this? What's this, all furry?" The few of them chattered noisily. It was dark, so they couldn't see clearly at all and could only vaguely make out a silhouette. Qin Chuan raised a hand. Tonight we're having stewed rabbit. Rabbit. It's rabbit. Guaguo, is there meat? Seventh was still little and ran slowly. By the time she got there, Fourth had already grabbed the basket and dashed back. Yes, there's rabbit. Qin Chuan picked Seventh up. Meat, meaty meat. Seventh wriggled down from Qin Chuan's arms, then ran toward the house. Qin Chuan shook his head lightly. What's this? Now that there's meat, she doesn't even want her brother anymore? Seventh ran back again and took Qin Chuan's hand. Second brother. Hurry up. Hey, okay. Qin Chuan responded with a faint smile. As he entered the cabin, warmth rushed at him. All the light coming from the earthen stove. The firelight flickered, and the light in the room swayed along with it. Standing in the doorway, Qin Chuan let out another soft sigh in his heart. How much had the crystal chandelier at home cost again? He'd forgotten. Seemed like hundreds of thousands, maybe. After it was installed, he had hardly ever looked up at it, and he couldn't help feeling a bit nostalgic. At home now, let alone light bulbs, there isn't even a kerosene lamp or a candle. There are far too many things missing. We'll have to find ways to get them all. Third brother put on his padded jacket, and the 5 younger siblings gathered around the earthen basket. What they were focused on was feeling that rabbit, mainly because the light was too dim to see clearly. But was that really feeling it? The impression was more like wolves, licking their prey before eating, every pair of eyes gleaming. Old Seven was drooling straight down, and even wiping with his cotton-padded sleeve couldn't keep up. It was soaked through. Have you eaten the potatoes? Qin Chuan asked. Second brother, we saved one piece for you. Third brother replied without even lifting his head. None of you listen. I told you to eat them all, but you just had to save some. Just one potato. Back then, he wouldn't have cared at all, but now it truly warmed his heart a little. One potato wasn't enough to fill even a few stomachs, even if it were all eaten, let alone that they had saved some for him. Their stomachs had been going without proper food for so long. Without any oil or meat, they couldn't get full at all. It was already good enough that they hadn't torn the rabbit apart alive on sight. Qin Chuan said, Third brother, skin and clean the rabbit, then stew it right away. Throw those vegetable leaves in too. However much we can eat, that's how much we'll add. No need to save any. Old Fourth, go get some snow and melt it. Scrub the pot clean. There's rice down below. Make a pot of porridge. Put in more rice. We're going to eat a full meal. There's still rice? They had all been staring at the rabbit. And sure enough, wasn't that so? Half a bag of rice. Qin Chuan hadn't taken out too much at once. The rice now wasn't like it would be later, with so many processing steps. So to a certain extent, it should be usable as seed for planting. And he also wanted to plant some in the space. They couldn't go on eating one meal with no idea where the next would come from. Under Qin Chuan's direction, everyone got busy. Qin Chuan then went into the inner room. Why do some places call the outer room the outer floor? It's because that's how it used to be, because people really did farm inside the house. From the space, he took out some vegetables and planted them there. It was really just a cover-up. Otherwise, where would fresh vegetables come from in the dead of winter later on? In the space now, the wild chives he had planted earlier, dandelions, and bok choy were all quite different now. A little over 2 hours, for the space, meant more than 20 hours. These wild greens grew very quickly. Take dandelions, for example. From breaking through the soil and sprouting to covering the ground in a fluffy ball matrix, the cycle was only about 10 days, and a single dandelion had over 200 seeds. That is to say, if he planted only dandelions, with the tenfold time difference, he could harvest 1 crop a day, and the more he planted, the more there would be. When they were planted in the space, they were already nearly grown. At this moment, quite a few had already grown fluffy seed heads. Once harvested, they would automatically enter another time-stilled space and stay fresh indefinitely. And at the moment of harvest, the points started rising, 1 point per plant, directly breaking 100. Without the slightest hesitation, he immediately clicked the lottery draw. There was no prompt, but Qin Chuan understood it. For the first draw, a critical hit: 10 pole salt, MSG, soy sauce, red sausage, 13 spice, white sugar, all trivial things. This draw was really speechless. And on the final pull, it seemed to hold back for a moment. What burst out wasn't an item, but 2 clusters of blue chi. The instant they appeared, they shot toward his ears. In a flash, he only felt that both ears were like they had eaten mint, with cool air whooshing out. Ears of Lingxi. Within 500 meters, everything could be perceived. The closer the distance, the sharper the hearing. Cost per second, 2 points. Qin Chuan was truly stunned for a moment. He really hadn't expected the lottery draw to yield a special ability. Here, 500 meters away, his ears twitched, and in an instant he could hear his younger brothers and sisters' heartbeats. Their quiet swallowing, the faint crackling of icicles splitting under the eaves, the whooshing wind, even the slight swelling sound of the snow crust. As he thought about what he wanted to hear, he could focus and zoom in, or widen and push farther out. It was a very strange feeling. His hearing had been amplified by who knew how many times in an instant. This kind of experience was completely unprecedented. But after trying it for just a bit, Qin Chuan immediately turned it off. For no other reason. Fourth brother let out a fart that made his ears hurt from the shock, like someone beating a drum right next to them. He glared at fourth brother. The kid was squatting on the ground, scrubbing the pot. Your drool fell into the pot. Wash it again, Qin Chuan said. Second brother. I didn't drop any. Besides, it's so dark. How could you even see it? Fourth brother wanted to hurry up and cook the porridge. He was greedy and hungry and didn't want to wash it again. Qin Chuan said, if I tell you to wash it, then wash it. Talk back again and I'll beat you. Go ahead and beat me. Fourth brother said. Qin Chuan gave a light snort. Not scared, huh? Fine. Then eat less rabbit meat. Second brother, I'll wash it 2 more times. Qin Chuan rubbed his ears and chuckled. Brat, I can still handle you, can't I? I think I drew sausage just now, right? Then at this moment, you'll get less to eat. He raised a hand. And the moment the sausage appeared out of thin air in his hand, Qin Chuan looked at the outer packaging and froze again. Carbon sausage. Isn't this the kind every supermarket would sell later on? Vacuum-sealed packaging. Then he looked at the production date. And it was actually from the 21st century? Holy shit. Qin Chuan stood there and made a bold guess. Did this lottery have any category restrictions? Probably not. After all, you could even draw an ability like the keen ear. So what was a 21st century item worth by comparison? If that was the case, then that meant, as long as he kept drawing, maybe he could get all kinds of electrical appliances and all kinds of food? In other words, as long as he operated things properly, he might very well be able to enjoy a 21st century life in the 1960s. And in this relatively rough and ready era, he'd have even more room to maneuver. At the thought of it, a smile appeared at the corner of Qin Chuan's mouth. In an instant, he felt as if he had broken free of a cage and was soaring through the sky. Before long, the whole family was gathered around 2 pots, holding bowls and eating noisily. There were no words, just mm, ah, ooh, originally. Qin Chuan had thought such a crude cooking method wouldn't taste that good, but in reality, even someone like him who was used to delicacies from land and sea felt that nothing was more fragrant than the minced sausage rice porridge and stewed wild rabbit with wild vegetables in his bowl. It was also very likely that this body had been deprived of good food for far too long, and now that there was suddenly a taste of meat, the aroma had invisibly been magnified many times over. Brother, it smells so good. So good. Even this porridge has a meat flavor, and it's different from the stew. It smells amazing. They all thought the porridge had rabbit meat in it too, completely unaware that the minced meat was chopped up carbon sausage. Qin Chuan smiled, picked up a ladle, and served fourth brother another portion. If it tastes good, eat more. Brother, I'm good, fourth brother said. A growing boy can eat his father into poverty, and that's no joke. Full already? Doesn't look like it. Qin Chuan raised his eyes and looked at him. Eat. With your brother here, from now on you'll eat until you're full. That's the only way you'll grow tall and strong, and then you'll be able to help me. Only then will our family prosper more and more. Fourth brother hesitated for a moment, then took the bowl. All right, brother. Today I understand. The only ones I care about are the people in this room. I don't care about anyone else. If anyone bullies us again, I'll fight them to the death. Fighting to the death isn't worth it. Your life is your own. Protecting yourself while taking down the other person, that's real skill. Qin Chuan looked at him. A lot of the time, only the result matters, not the process. Morality is defined by other people. That's a shackle used to confine you. In a fight, gouge their eyes. In a brawl, kick them in the crotch. Don't think it's underhanded. Who ends up on the ground is what matters most. His younger brothers and sisters ate as they listened. It somewhat overturned their way of thinking. They also felt that after second brother climbed out of that pit, his whole person was different from before second brother got that serious illness. In their impression, second brother was quite smart and pretty capable of organizing things. For some matters, dad and eldest brother would even listen to second brother. Now, they all felt that the second brother from before had come back. Third Qin Bai said somewhat worriedly, Brother, we snatched grain from Aunt's family. She won't just let this go, will she? Hearing this, Qin Chuan looked at her. Are you afraid? Third sister nodded lightly, then shook her head. I was afraid before, but now that you, second brother, are here, I'm not afraid. Qin Chuan said with a smile. Little sister, sooner or later you're going to get married. But you must marry someone you like, someone who treats you well. If you're unwilling, then no one gets a say. And listen carefully. From now on, that poisonous woman is no longer your aunt. We've drawn a clear line, and from now on we have nothing to do with anyone in her family. If they dare come stir up trouble, fourth, that axe, pick it up and swing it for me. Fourth Qin, he was startled. Second brother, isn't that still risking our lives? Qin Chuan clicked his tongue and said, risking our lives my ass. Swing it, sure, but can't you aim for the arms and legs? Make a big show with little real harm. Just scare people, get it? They're probably still waiting for word right now. Zhao Laowu has disappeared just like that. I wonder if you're panicking or not. Qin Chuan took a bite of rabbit meat and slurped a mouthful of porridge, his gaze flicking toward the stove opening, where a wooden frame was propping up the rabbit skin to dry. Third sister's skill is really something special. The way she skinned it, clean and neat. In later times, not to mention skinning, little girls would scream their heads off even at the sight of a chicken being slaughtered. The clothes on the younger brothers and sisters are all far too thin. To put it bluntly, if the stove in this room goes out, they'd all freeze to death overnight. The sheepskin jacket we stripped off definitely can't be taken out right now. Looks like I need to make a trip to the black market in the city as soon as possible, get something as cover so I can bring out the sheepskin jacket and remake it into vests for them. Even undershirts would be good. The whole family couldn't remember how long it had been since they'd eaten a full meal. Second brother, I feel like my body has gotten heavier. Me too. The two girls, sixth and seventh, cried out crisply. Hearing this gave Qin Chuan a burst of lingering fear. Why did they feel heavier? Because they had been so hungry before that their heads were dizzy, and their feet felt light and unsteady. Having experienced starvation to death before, he knew clearly that those were signs of starving to death. If not for this meal today, his two younger sisters probably wouldn't have woken up tomorrow. There was still some stewed rabbit and porridge left, enough for breakfast tomorrow morning. Grain wasn't a worry for the short term, but there was too little meat. His younger sisters were small and skinny, suffering from severe malnutrition. Children's resistance is low to begin with. If this malnutrition continues, let alone growing taller, they simply won't survive. There is prey all over this mountain, so he had to figure out a way to get some. One bow and one turtle shell shield were nowhere near enough if they ran into something big. After thinking about it, where did the rabbit innards go? Qin Chuan asked. Third sister said, we splashed water on them and froze them into ice, then buried them in the snow by the door. When it gets light, I'll clean them up. We can still stir-fry them and eat them. Qin Chuan said, bring them in. No need to clean them. Just stuff them into the stove and roast them. Best if they get a bit charred and ashy. Brother, can that even taste good? It's still got shit on it. Fifth said. Qin Chuan said, it's not for eating. I need it tomorrow. Hearing that, third sister did as told. A little later, after they had basically finished eating and tidied up a bit, they all climbed onto the Kong and lay down in a neat row. Children as young as seventh were neither noisy nor mischievous. They just lay obediently on the Kong. Why? Because moving would make them hungry, and staying still would save a little energy. Once you've eaten your fill, moving around any extra is just a waste. On the big heated brick bed, there wasn't even any bedding. Basically, whatever you were wearing, you just lay down there and that was it. It made Qin Chuan really uncomfortable. He'd lived this long and never slept wearing this many clothes. It felt awkward inside and out. But taking any off wasn't appropriate either. Old sixth and old seventh were fine. But there was also the little girl. Third sister was already 16, a grown young lady. With old fourth through old seventh between them from one end of the Kong to the other, they were still on the same Kong after all. No, I still have to find a way to build a house. This wooden cabin had been built by the villagers together. Originally, they had a house in the village too, but because of the collective mindset, they gave it up. If one can be built, building a few more shouldn't be a problem, right? With everyone squeezed into one room, nothing was convenient, let alone bathing. There was plenty of wood, all local materials. What they lacked was manpower. Qin Chuan began thinking it over. That night, his younger brothers and sisters slept soundly and quietly. Having eaten their fill, they didn't fuss through the night anymore. Only old fourth, even asleep, he was still smacking his lips, and sometimes he even wriggled over by Qin Chuan's ear and smacked away there. Who built a house? He absolutely had to build one. Early the next morning, when it was just starting to get light, they were basically all awake. Mainly because they had gone to sleep too early. Then Qin Chuan noticed that old seventh, Qin Shui, was oddly twisting his body around. What's wrong? Are you uncomfortable? Qin Chuan said. Old Seven's face was all scrunched up as he said with some difficulty, "Second brother, I need to poop, but I can't. If I do, I'll get hungry." Qin Chuan, hurry and go, don't hold it in. If you're hungry, you can just eat again. There's still stewed rabbit and meat porridge this morning. Old Seventh froze for a moment. Right. He was so used to being hungry that after one night's sleep, he'd even forgotten. He quickly ran outside to poop. Qin Chuan also got up and walked out. As soon as he opened the door, the air was bitingly dry and cold, but it had to be said, the air really was good. One breath of it almost tasted sweet. Vast stretches of dazzling white snow spread as far as the eye could see, and beyond in the distance was the forest. The scenery was truly something else, just like a painting. However, 5 minutes later, Qin Chuan didn't think that anymore. The natural toilet was just finding a random spot in the snowdrift, scraping at it with your foot, and sticking your butt into it. The scenery was beautiful, but his butt was freezing miserably. The most damn speechless part was that there was no toilet paper, not even rough paper. At home, there were 5 baskets woven from branches, and inside them were dried leaves. This was the toilet paper. Freeze for a while, then get scraped by leaves like that? Absolutely wow. And then Old Seventh came back, rubbing his little belly. Feels great. The toilet had to be dealt with too. Everything had to be dealt with. At breakfast, Qin Chuan wasn't very happy at all. Why? Because after eating he'd have to poop, and when he did, it was damn miserable. Old Third, Old Fourth, Old Fifth, go pick up some branches. Make simple frames with them, dig up soil and fill the frames, pour water on them, and let them freeze solid. Make a lot more. Old Sixth, Old Seventh, you two help as well. Qin Chuan looked at his younger brothers and sisters and said, just do it right by the front door. If you see anyone coming, get inside immediately, lock the door, and brace it shut with a post. No matter what they say, don't open the door. I'll be back at noon. Old Third asked, bro, where are you going? After a heavy snowfall, wild animals all come out looking for food, so it'll be easier to get some. Qin Chuan said. Old Fourth immediately said, bro, I'll go with you. Help your sister first and make the frozen dirt frames. Qin Chuan said, bro, what are those for? Old Fourth said in confusion. Qin Chuan didn't explain anything. Just listen, that's the good thing. Once second brother spoke. If he didn't say more, they wouldn't keep asking. Whatever big brother told them to do, they just did it. In truth, Qin Chuan wanted to keep them for saving his life. Whether he had tools or not, in these deep mountains, there was no telling what he might run into. If he stored this frozen earth in his space, it would be hard and heavy. In an emergency, taking it out, no matter what, it could at least block something for him. As they were talking, the door was pushed open without warning. Along with a gust of cold wind, a person stood in the doorway. When Third saw who it was, his face instantly turned pale. Haha, strip off your pants. I want to strip off your pants. Zhuzi stared at Qin Bai, his face wearing an expression that was foolish, stupid, and perverse, extremely terrifying. And not only that, he directly pulled his pants down. Although his cotton jacket covered his upper body, that action still scared Third badly. She covered her eyes at once and didn't dare look. Qin Chuan stood up straight away and casually picked up the mountain axe. I don't give a damn whether you're an idiot or whatever. You dare expose your dick in front of my little sister? I'll fucking castrate you. Hey. Right after that, silly Zhuzi's father, his uncle, and the others all came. Zhuzi's father pointed at Qin Chuan. What are you doing? Put the axe down. The moment he saw who had come, he understood. They had come to snatch his little sister away. Qin Chuan's face turned cold, his whole body bristling with hostility. The axe pointed at the idiot, his voice like a cold blade. What the fuck is your family's idiot trying to do? This is my home. You come here and take off your pants. Do you fucking think the Qin family has no men? I'll count to 3. Get the hell out. All of you. Or I'll castrate your son first. And then chop up you old bastards too. So what now? Zhuzi's father, Wang Taijun, looked very grim, but he still yanked Zhuzi and said, put your pants on. Strip her pants off. I want to strip her pants off. Stab her. I want to stab her. Zhuzi refused to comply and threw a wild tantrum. As he spoke, he also made an extremely lewd thrusting motion with his hips. Wang Taijun said, okay, we'll take her home, and you can stab her slowly. Dad will definitely let you stab her. He dragged Zhuzi behind him and pointed at Qin Chuan. I'm telling you, I don't care whether you came back from the dead or whatever, don't fucking put on an act in front of me. You can't just say you'll return my family's millet and make it so. We already agreed before, if you go back on it. And the matter can't be done, it'll be tenfold. 20 jin of millet. 20 jin? Qin Chuan lightly ground his teeth. You fucking tell me. What did you do to my little sister? Fuck your mother. He swung the axe and chopped. Stab her slowly? You think me, her big brother, is just for show? You think I'm fucking deaf? This is too much bullying. They're practically shitting on my neck. Wang Taijun was so scared the hair all over his body stood on end. He hadn't expected Qin Chuan to really dare to chop. His body instinctively dodged, and then he grabbed Qin Chuan's hand, trying to snatch away the axe. Fuck you. Qin Chuan went up and kicked him. Fourth. Fifth. Get the kitchen knife and chop them. Fourth grabbed the kitchen knife and started swinging. Fifth picked up the thermos and began splashing. Ow, fuck, they're crazy. They're all crazy. Even though they were all getting on in years, that just made them fear death more. Third, two, grabbed a firewood stick. Even the two little kids, sixth and seventh, were about to join in. Faced with a family fighting this desperately, with that murderous aura, they all started trembling. They had only come to throw their weight around, not to risk their lives. They all ran outside. Forget it. Stop chopping. Stop chasing. We don't want the millet anymore. Let's drop this. Drop it. We won't come again. We were wrong. Dachuan, we were wrong. Wrong. Wang Taijun dragged Air Zhuzi, shouting back as he ran. Qin Chuan carried the axe and, with his younger brothers and sisters, chased after them while chopping. If he hadn't been looking out for his two younger brothers, worried that fourth had been shoved down and would suffer for it, he'd have fucking chopped down two of them right there on the spot. His pants were already off, and he still wanted to stab his little sister right in front of him? Who the fuck could stand that? Qin Chuan swung the axe, but his foot slipped, and the axe handle struck Wang Taijun on the shoulder. Both of them fell. Qin Chuan climbed up and mounted him. In the chaos, he randomly grabbed the axe that had fallen to the ground and raised it. No, Dachuan. Dachuan, don't be impulsive. If that axe comes down, you'll have to pay with your life, and your younger brothers and sisters will be done for. The others, still shaken, shouted to try to stop him. Wang Taijun felt a warmth in his crotch and straight up pissed himself. Third brother ran over and hurriedly grabbed Qin Chuan. Second brother, don't. That's enough. They've all said they won't dare anymore. He blocked him with his body, squeezing in front of Qin Chuan to stop him. Wang Taijun raised both hands and said tremblingly, Dachuan, I'm doing this for your own good too. You simply can't raise your younger brothers and sisters. What can you do? Where are you going to get food? If Sonia comes to my house, no matter what, I can at least give her something to eat, right? At least she can live. With you. Can you keep her alive? What you're giving them is a dead end. Qin Chuan brought the axe down, chopping into the ground above his head, and said flatly, Then I'll spare your life so you can get a good look at how I keep my younger brothers and sisters alive. If you've got the guts, kill me. If you dare bully our family again, I'll wipe out your whole family. Understand? If you understand, answer me. That one axe strike scared 3 parts of Wang Tiejuan's soul right out of him. His whole body shook uncontrollably, and meeting Qin Chuan's eyes terrified him even more. What kind of look was that? I understand. Qin Chuan pulled up the axe and stood up. Get lost. After they left, third brother threw himself straight into Qin Chuan's arms. Second brother. Qin Chuan let out a soft breath. Don't be afraid. You're not alone. Yeah, sis, our family's got 3 men. Fourth brother said in an adult-like tone. Before, we were afraid they'd bully big brother. Now big brother's better. We're not afraid of anyone. If they bully us, we'll dare to chop them. Second brother. That axe strike just now was insanely cool. Qin Chuan ruffled his head. The hell do you know? After a while, Qin Chuan put on the road deer fur coat, slung a hemp rope diagonally over his shoulder, a bow in his left hand, a mountain-cleaving axe in his right, a quiver at his waist, and a back basket on his back, with nothing in it but charred roasted wild rabbit innards. Bro, don't go into the deep mountains. Third brother looked worried. Father and eldest brother went into the deep mountains and never came back. Father even had a gun with him back then. But now second brother only has a bow in his hands. It's too dangerous. Qin Chuan smiled faintly and said, Don't worry. Fourth brother, while I'm not here, you're the man of the house. You have to step up. Bro, the kitchen knife is already at my waist. Fourth brother patted his lower back. Fifth brother looked at the 5 arrows in the quiver at Qin Chuan's waist. Second brother, can I have an arrow? Qin Chuan took one out and handed it to him. Fifth brother stuck it into his crotch. If anyone bullies me, I'll stab them. They had all been fired up by second brother. Now they'd rather die than be bullied. Qin Chuan smiled. Don't hurt yourself and cut off your little chick. Fifth brother lowered his head, stretched open his waistband, carefully pulled it back out, then looked up at Qin Chuan. Almost. Before leaving, Qin Chuan listened to the surroundings. After making sure there was no danger, he headed toward the woods. After getting far from the wooden hut, he changed into his leather boots, pulled on his dogskin hat, and put everything into the space. You really do have to rely on equipment. These leather boots really do let you walk all over the snow, feeling much better and more comfortable. Without this roe deer fur coat, no one could withstand this snowy mountain for long. Following his memory, he walked deeper in while checking the surroundings from time to time. Deep in the mountain forest, there was a lake. In his memory, he'd gone there to catch fish before. The village had hunting guns, managed by the production team, and he'd have to get one somehow. This mountain watchman's identity. He needed that too. No matter when, you can't get things done with nothing but empty words. That's just begging for charity. But if he could get some fish, then things would be different. After walking for an hour, panting heavily, he finally arrived at the place. On the snow, he saw some hoof prints. Roe deer? Deer? Mountain goat? He really couldn't tell. After finding the right spot, he took the felling axe and started hacking into the ice with loud thuds. He didn't make them very big, just 3 round holes about the size of 2 palms each. Then he took the charred rabbit innards, chopped them up with the felling axe, and tossed them into the 3 ice holes as bait. After waiting quietly for 10 minutes, one arm slipped out from the sleeve of the roe deer coat. He rolled up the sleeve of his cotton jacket and plunged it into an ice hole. In an instant, a bone-piercing cold. Qin Chuan didn't care, and with a thought, the water in the ice hole suddenly gurgled and churned. Fishing? Scooping up fish? That was all too troublesome. Why not just collect them directly into the space? He opened up a pool in the space about the size of a basketball court in both length and width, with a depth of up to 5 meters, locked onto an area of the same size, and took in the water directly. That was quite a large range. Splash, splash. After working on 3 ice holes, he left only the last pool of water in the space. As for the other 2, after taking them into the space, he released them again. A huge pool of water was just dumped brutally onto the muddled ice surface. The live fish immediately flopped and thrashed about on the ice. Qin Chuan quickly slipped his arm back into the roe deer coat, where it would be easy to get frostbite. Without having time to count how many there were, he began picking up the fish and storing them in the space. These fish all had to be kept alive. Not only could they earn points, they could also grow bigger and fatter. He kept 10 3-gene carp and tossed them into the back basket. Exposed to the cold wind like that, they quickly froze over. After such a long trip, if he brought them back still alive, that would be hard to explain. By rough estimate, there were probably still around 50 fish left in the space. Carp, triple-scale carp, topmouth coulter, there weren't many big ones. Most were only 1 or 2 gene, a bit on the small side. The baiting clearly hadn't been rich enough, so the big fish weren't coming up much. This was enough. The first time is unfamiliar, the second time easier. The harvest was already quite good. Rustle a sound coming from the woods made Qin Chuan's whole body tense up. A bow immediately appeared out of thin air in his hand. Bow for distance, turtle shell for close combat. That had long been his planned strategy. His ears twitched at once, and then he let out a light breath. It turned out to be a dead branch falling down. It had to be said, the lake's icy surface was really open and exposed, definitely not a place to linger. If a wild boar came charging over, there wouldn't even be anywhere to hide. At least in the woods there were trees to maneuver around, so he wouldn't get taken out in an instant. He hurriedly picked up the basket and headed toward the shore. As for the keen ear, he used it frequently as well. Points or not, whatever was spent was spent. When he reached the shore and had not gone far, Qin Chuan's ears twitched and his steps halted. He then looked toward a bulge beneath a tree. There's something underneath. He had heard it through the keen ear, but didn't know what it was. A rabbit? As the saying goes, a crafty rabbit has 3 burrows. If it was a rabbit, it really wouldn't be easy to catch. Who knew how many exits there might be? But with his hearing, damn it. If he came across it and didn't do anything, that would be a waste. He grabbed the felling axe and scraped away the thick accumulated snow. And underneath was another thick layer of dry leaves. After clearing it all away, he discovered it was an earthen mound, and in a concealed spot, there was a burrow. After a few chops of the axe, he split open the entrance. 5 minutes later, Qin Chuan saw a furry thing. Not a rabbit. What the hell is it? It was curled up there without moving. If not for the gentle rise and fall of its body showing it was breathing, he would have thought it was dead. He definitely couldn't just grab it with his bare hands. Taking out an arrow, he stabbed down hard. With a pull outward, the thing immediately yelped and struggled. Only then did Qin Chuan get a clear look at it. Its build was a bit like a dog's, but much rounder, with very short limbs. It looked more like a skunk, but its face was quite distinctive. Its nose was a bit like a pig's, and there were long black and white stripes across its face. The original host's memories told him that this thing was called a hog badger. Once he knew it was a hog badger, a smile appeared at the corner of Qin Chuan's mouth. This thing had 3 treasures: meat, oil, fur. It's a wild burrowing animal that hibernates. And there was never just one in a den. It's an omnivore with a preference for plants, so there was no need to worry about being bitten. The one he was holding felt very fat in his hands, at least 20 Jin. He grabbed its neck and twisted, tossed it into the basket, then crouched down and reached into the hole again. Sure enough, he felt another furry one and grabbed it, pulling it out. They say the meat is delicious in a gamey way, though he'd never eaten it before. After all, later on this thing would become protected uselessness. Badger oil can treat burns, chapping, and frostbite. Absolutely good stuff. The fur is dense, soft, wear-resistant, and exceptionally warm. This one he pulled out wasn't as big as the last one, but it still wasn't small, just as plump and fluffy. It didn't even move after being dragged out, still asleep. This was the only time they were easy to catch. You should know that hog badgers are especially good at digging and are active at night. Only when they hibernate in winter do they sleep so deeply that once you dig open the den with a hoe, as long as you can find the hole, a single nest can yield quite a few. Half an hour later, the den had been dug into a complete mess, and a total of 7 hog badgers had been pulled out. Except for the first one, which was truly dead, the other 6 were all in a dead-asleep hibernating state. Every one of them was plump all over, with round bellies, and they felt very nice to the touch. Just by squeezing them a couple of times, without even skinning them, he could guess how much fat was on them. He put them all into the space. After listening and confirming there were no more hog badgers deeper in the den, he roughly covered up the scene a bit, then circled the lake and headed deeper into the forest. From time to time, his ears twitched as he listened for movement, searching for hog badger dens. If he dug out a few more nests, his younger brother and sisters would have clothes, hats, gloves, and the like taken care of. Everyone would be able to wear fur. Then there'd be no need to worry about anyone freezing and ending up in bad shape. After walking more than 500 meters, Qin Chuan's heart tightened. Before the original host had burned his brain out, he had learned quite a bit of hunting experience from his father. He noticed several pine trees, and on 2 of them there were obvious scrape marks. He had reached wild boar territory. Wild boars have a habit of repeatedly rubbing against certain pine trees they prefer to scratch themselves on, leaving scent marks through the rubbing to divide their range. He couldn't go any farther in. The bow and arrows in his hand couldn't even pierce their hide, let alone penetrate those turtle shell bodies. Better wait until he got a hunting rifle. He backed away a little, hesitated for a moment, then came to those pine trees again. He raised his hand and patted the pine trees, then put them all into the space and planted them there. If vegetables could be grown, why couldn't trees? Qin Chuan had this idea and wanted to test it, and sure enough, it worked. Pine trees that wild boars rub against aren't chosen at random. They generally grow matsutake mushrooms. Whether they could grow in the space or not, he'd know after trying. Although the growth cycle is relatively long, that's counting the mycelial base as well. Once they start poking up, it doesn't take that long, and they come in flush after flush, with a flavor that's also quite excellent. There were only a few trees anyway, and didn't take up much space. If it didn't work, he could just chop them down for firewood. On the way back to the wooden cabin, Qin Chuan harvested the wild vegetables he had planted yesterday. Dandelion really grows fast, patch after patch. With this harvest, the points had reached over 2,300. He didn't plant any more dandelion. There was too much already. He mainly planted a batch of bok choy, and after trying to soak the rice and getting it to barely sprout, he simply planted it all around the fish pond. In the little space left over, he planted wild chives, not wasting even the tiniest bit of land. He collected a big pile of snow and put it into the space. It would melt naturally and could be used for watering. The fish had become much more lively, but there was nothing good to feed them right now, so he'd wait until the dog badger's innards were taken out. Fish like these wouldn't starve to death anyway. After hesitating for a moment, he crushed a little of the plentiful dandelion and sprinkled it in. They're not picky eaters, so they'd eat it too. What surprised Qin Chuan a little was that the moment he scattered it, the fish in the whole pond went into a frenzy, flopping and splashing and scrambling to eat it, looking as if they'd never eaten anything before. Since when did fish like eating dandelions so much? In his surprise, Qin Chuan froze slightly and noticed that the dandelion bits splashed onto the ground because of the fish fighting over them seeped into the soil like melting ice. Then, to his astonishment, he discovered that the rice planted in that area had actually sprouted from the soil and was growing faster than the surrounding plants. Could it be? The thought that arose in his mind left Qin Chuan both surprised and delighted. He crushed up a big handful of dandelion and scattered it into the soil. He saw that the rice in the area where he had sprinkled it started shooting up. Qin Chuan was overjoyed. This would greatly shorten the growth cycle. Plants like dandelion, which have a short growth cycle, could be used as fertilizer, and not ordinary fertilizer at that. This was completely localized accelerated growth. He sprinkled a handful at the base of the pine tree, and the matsutake poked out. Haha, now that's settled. If he planted ginseng and scattered a whole plot of dandelion over it, then what would it grow into? The space needed to be explored. Surprises were hidden in the unexpected. What was there to worry about now? Wouldn't life start getting better from here? 20 consecutive draws. 5 jade of eggs, 5 bags of noodles, 10 jade of rice, 5 jade of oil, 10 jade of flour, 2 jade of apples, 3 jade of peaches, plus a case of instant noodles and 10 ham sausages. It was all food. Fine. They're short on food right now, so having more was good too. Although each lottery draw yielded only a small amount, none of the draws ever came up empty. Once the draw frequency picked up, the total amount was quite considerable. Not bad. Not bad. In a great mood, he headed back to the cabin. When he got close to the edge of the woods, he took the back basket out of the space and carried it on his back. The dog badger was tied up with a rope, dragged along as he walked. Its fur slid smoothly over the snow, so the resistance wasn't great. From afar, he saw his younger brothers and sisters in front of the cabin. Qin Chuan spread his arms and shouted, "Fourth, fifth, come help. Boys need the practice." After shouting, he plopped down onto a snowdrift, put away the damn hat, and started taking off his woolly boots. He changed into his ragged cotton shoes, frozen cold by the winter wind. Oh damn, that's freezing. Good thing Zhao Laowu sent the gear, otherwise today's fishing would have been miserable. Thanks, Laowu. I'll find a chance to lay you to rest. After changing into his cotton shoes, Qin Chuan endured that freezing urge to pee, got up, and half carrying, half dragging, headed toward the cabin. Hearing Qin Chuan's voice, his younger brothers and sisters immediately put down everything they were doing and all ran over. Of course, fourth and fifth, the 2 boys, ran the fastest. Third was tugging one on each side, holding the hands of little sixth and seventh, and running along behind. Looking at his younger brothers and sisters, a faint smile unconsciously appeared at the corners of Qin Chuan's mouth. There was no rejection or resistance, just that feeling from deep within the original owner's heart, constantly taking over him. And as for them, he truly regarded them as his own younger brothers and sisters. Life was hard, but family bonds were strong. That was different from later on, and all the more precious. A badger? Bro, you're amazing. Fourth's eyes lit up. Badgers aren't that easy to catch, even though they hibernate, and if you find the den you can dig out a whole nest. Finding one is the hard part. Even experienced people have to get really lucky to find them. Fifth went right up and threw himself onto one, rubbing at it, not afraid of the thing at all. Instead, it was furry, warm, and soft, practically like a hand warmer, and so comfortable to hold. 6 of them. Bro, how did you find them? How lucky do you have to be? Qin Chuan smiled and said, "There's also the biggest one here." He patted the basket. Fourth looked into the basket and vaguely noticed there seemed to be something else inside. He lifted the rag curtain and took a look. Fish. That big. That many. Bro, you went into the deep mountains and even dug through the ice. Third sister's going to have red eyes again. Fourth said, "Why red eyes?" Because she'd worry, be scared, and cry. Sure enough, third arrived with the 2 younger sisters. The 2 little ones excitedly went to rub the badgers. As for third, she looked at the badgers, then at the fish, and her eyes immediately reddened. Second brother, you promised me you wouldn't go into the deep mountains. You lied. Qin Chuan said, "I didn't go in. Strictly speaking, where the lake is doesn't count as the deep mountains. It's too cold. Let's get back inside first. These 6 are alive. Don't let them wake up and run off." Sixth was riding a badger, bouncing her butt on it as she marveled. Bro, they won't wake up before spring. Maybe that arrow from earlier actually woke them up. Tie them up tighter, especially since the 2 little ones are so fond of playing with them. Don't let them wake up and bite anyone. Only after making absolutely sure was it safe to let go. Fourth and fifth pulled the ropes, while the 2 little ones sat on the badgers as if riding ice sleds. Third took the dead badger out of the basket and held it in her arms. The blood had frozen, but the fur was warm on the hands. Fourth brother, fifth brother, hurry up, faster. Oh. Qin Chuan couldn't help the corners of his mouth rising as he watched. Badger ice sleds. That sense of déjà vu was really something else. The 6 badgers were all carried into the wooden cabin and gathered together on the floor. The 2 younger sisters sat right on top of them, turning them into genuine leather sofas again. Soft as could be, they really knew how to enjoy themselves. Second brother, let's keep them, okay? We wouldn't even need to feed them all winter. Fourth said. Qin Chuan said, keep them for what? To attract wolves again? Kill them all. Store the meat. Keep some of the fat for our own use. Preserve the rest well, and trade it in the city for grain later, and use the hides to make coats. Seventh said, but, brother, they're so soft. Qin Chuan said with a smile. They'll be even softer worn on your body, and warmer too. Most importantly, the meat is delicious. Don't you want to eat meat? When Seventh heard that, a little drool appeared at the corner of her mouth. Qin Chuan started organizing everyone. Fourth and fifth would do the slaughtering. Third would skin and clean them. Sixth and seventh would scrub the pot and tend the fire. Qin Chuan, meanwhile, started working on the fish. No scallions, ginger, or garlic, so fish stewed with wild chives it would be. The idea was just to improvise. He'd had it before, and apparently chives could enhance the freshness and remove the fishiness. To be honest, Qin Chuan wasn't very good at cooking. He could only handle simple dishes, but with this stuff, he'd just make do. The main issue was the various seasonings. It wasn't easy to take them out in front of his younger brothers and sisters. Last night it was pitch black, so after some fumbling he could just toss a handful of seasonings into the pot and be done with it. But in broad daylight, that was much harder to pull off. So the cooking naturally had to be done by himself. Let's also make some bok choy stir-fried with eggs. The apples can't be eaten whole either, so peel them, cut them into chunks, stew them, then mash some of it with a spoon and add a little white sugar. Basically, it's homemade canned apples. Bok choy stir-fried with eggs and boiled apples don't have such a strong aroma. But once this stewed fish came to a boil, all kinds of seasonings went in, and a layer of wild chives was spread over the top. That fragrance practically exploded through the whole house. The younger brothers and sisters all crowded around, busy handling the dog badger. Even while working, their noses started twitching unconsciously. My God, this smells way too good. Brother, can I have just a little sip? Qin Chuan turned to look, and the way each of them looked made him laugh. Even he thought it smelled great. He hadn't expected himself to be so naturally gifted, picking up cooking without a teacher. Even he was getting dazed by the smell, and said with a smile, wait a bit longer, it'll be ready soon. He beckoned to Third. Third, do you know how to stick corn cakes on the pot? For iron pot stew, the pot-stuck cakes are the soul of the dish. Unfortunately, it was a technical job, and Qin Chuan admitted he couldn't figure it out. And if it went wrong, this pot of fish would be ruined for nothing. Third washed the blood off her hands. Brother, leave it to me. Cornmeal was also in the basket from yesterday, and there was millet too. They had taken some of each out. All of it scraped together from Su Guiying. For these pot-stuck cakes, cornmeal really tastes best. Leaving it to Third, Qin Chuan went outside. Basket after basket of frozen earth, each about half a person's height, stood there. In these mountains, there's plenty of dirt. Under the heavy snow, the ground wasn't frozen all that solid. Pour some hot water over it, and you could dig it up with a hoe. The baskets made by circling tree branches didn't need to be woven that densely. Just forming a shape to hold the big clods of dirt was enough. Then pour water over them, and in this bitterly cold weather, they'd freeze up quickly. Give it a kick, and it was heavy hard. It didn't budge in the slightest. Even through his shoes, the soles of his feet hurt. Not bad. Really not bad. With a sweep of his eyes, he saw they had really made quite a lot, more than 20 baskets. With a wave of his hand, he put 5 baskets into the space. Fourth came out and said to Qin Chuan, brother, how did these 20-odd baskets turn out? Is it, huh? Why does it feel like there are fewer? Qin Chuan said, why bother about how many? As long as it's enough. Second brother, how many do we need to make? Fourth asked. Qin Chuan raised a hand and draped it over his shoulder. Fourth, look, with the heavy snow sealing off the mountain, hunting is hard for us, and those beasts in the mountains aren't having an easy time either. Usually they wouldn't dare come near us, but once they're starving, there's no telling. Our wooden cabin can probably withstand a few rams from a wild boar, but if it goes mad, that's hard to say. Pile this frozen earth up outside the walls of the wooden cabin, then freeze it solid with water. Then even if it smashes its head to pieces, it still won't break through. Hearing this, Fourth nodded deeply in agreement. Second brother, you really thought this through. But what about the door? Qin Chuan, can you use your head a little? Stop asking me everything. Fourth thought for a moment, then seemed to have a flash of insight. Oh, I get it. Once the frozen earth wall is set up outside, We'll drive in some wooden stakes too and make a pull-out stake barrier to block the door. Qin Chuan smiled faintly. Do it well. Got it, brother. Come on, time to eat. As he wrapped an arm around Fourth and went back inside, he waved his hand and put 3 more baskets into the space. Soon after, the whole family gathered around the iron pot. Those stuck cakes were full of the fragrance of the broth. One bite. Oh my. This is amazing. Now this is what you call a meal. Brother, have some egg. Third picked up a piece of egg for Qin Chuan. Qin Chuan kept a little, then put some back into her bowl. I'll just eat fish. You, 6th and 7th, should eat more of the eggs. Girls look prettier when they eat more eggs. Brother, what kind of egg is this? 5th asked. Pheasant eggs. I came across them and took them. Qin Chuan said casually. Old 4th said, bro, take me with you next time. I want to collect some too. There has to be a man left at home. Once old 5th gets a bit older and can take your place, I'll take you. Qin Chuan said. Old 4th ate the fish head, even chewing up the bones, and nodded silently. The first stirrings of supporting the family were growing rapidly in his heart. There were 10 fish, 3 were stewed, and 7 were kept. They ate most of the big potful, and at night, they could keep eating the fish aspic, with dog badger meat, as the main dish. Old 4th, get some firewood this afternoon. We'll roast it tonight. Qin Chuan said. Got it, bro? Old 4th replied. Old 3rd said, bro, if we stew it, it'll go further. If you stew it, you get a big pot, and with all the broth and water, you end up eating less meat, so it can last several days. But if we roast it, then we're just eating meat straight. Qin Chuan said with a smile. Raise your hand if you want it roasted. Everyone except Old 3rd raised their hands. Qin Chuan. Haha. Old 3rd. The minority obeys the majority. Old 3rd. Qin Chuan said with a smile. Your brother's been muddle-headed for over 2 years, but now I've woken up. Don't worry, your brother's capable. With me here, we won't be short of food from now on. After giving some instructions, Old 3rd was to deal with the meat and hide and process the dog badger. Old 4th and Old 5th were to gather firewood and frozen earth. Old 6th and Old 7th were to dig snow, boil water, and help out. Qin Chuan, meanwhile, put on his roe deer coat, carried a back basket, and headed down the mountain with 7 fish. The production team had guns, that much he knew. But as for exactly what kind of guns, he really didn't know. The original owner's father had previously been assigned a Type 38 rifle. As things stood now, the common ones were the Hanyang 88, the Type 38 rifle, and the Type 56 semi-auto. It seemed the militia squad hadn't even been fully equipped with Type 56 semi-autos, so it would be hard to get one from the production team. No matter what it was, as long as it was a gun, it would do. He had to get one. If he'd gone into the mountains with a gun today, then after finding that pine tree rubbed by the wild boar, with his hearing, he definitely could have tracked the beast down and killed it. That was pure wild boar meat. Absolutely delicious. When he arrived in the village, in the dead of winter, there was hardly anyone outdoors. Everyone was holed up inside for the winter. Things weren't like later on now. People didn't even have enough to eat, so naturally no one could afford to keep dogs. At least no one in this village did, so the village was quiet as anything, with only the crunching sound of footsteps on the snow. Qin Chuan headed straight for Captain Wang Shunli's home, 7 big fat fish. In exchange for a gun, he refused to believe you wouldn't be tempted, refused to believe you wouldn't make it happen. In times like these, do you know what it meant to get a bite of fish? You might not even get any during the new year. Victory was assured. As he neared Su Guing's house, Qin Chuan slowed his steps a little, and his ears twitched. Zhao Laowu had gone missing, and he was quite interested in what this vicious woman was doing now. But, if he hadn't listened, he wouldn't have known. The moment he did, he stopped in his tracks. I didn't get even a bit of millet, so why are you asking me for it? And 20 Jean? No way. What did you say before? If it didn't work out, you'd pay back tenfold. Was I the one who had to pay it back? That damned bastard didn't die. How is that my fault? If you kill him, I'll definitely send that girl Qin by. Onto your son's Kong. You can even sleep with her if you want. Your whole family can have their way with her. Do you dare? I told you to go snatch her first thing in the morning. And when you couldn't and got beaten back instead, you came to me to settle the score. What? You think I'm easy to bully? Don't give me that. Did you agree or not? Now that you didn't get anything, you have to compensate me. Otherwise, one of your 3 daughters goes to my son. Otherwise, this matter isn't over. Oh my, you're pretty arrogant, huh? Do you know what Zhao Laowu is to me? That old lady's ass is very familiar to him. It belongs to the thing between his legs. And you think you can bully me? Old 5th went to take care of something and hasn't come back yet. When he does, believe it or not, I'll tell him and have him shoot you dead with 1 bullet. You. You really are shameless. Humph. Face. Can face put food on the table? If you gave me fine grain every day and stewed meat once a week, the team's granary. That haystack, I'd roll around with you there. Do you have what it takes? I'm telling you, if you dare blab about this, old Fifth will definitely chop you up. Hey, how about this? 20 gene of millet. Give it to me. When old Fifth comes back after finishing his business, I'll have him kill that brat. Then, I'll definitely deliver Qin Bai to you. And you can help me out. Add fuel to the fire. As for those 2 Qin girls, let old Fifth's family keep them. He can have some fun. He's had his eye on them for quite a long time. You. Are you even human? I want the Wong family line to continue. But your heart, it's too damn black. You won't spare a single one, top to bottom. How old are those 2 brats? You're someone with daughters too, you. You, forget it. I don't want anything anymore, and I don't know anything either. You're something else. To be this kind of person, really something. Very soon, Qin Chuan saw Wang Taijun, with his head down, walking out from the corner. Without turning his head, he quickly left. Where the hell did old Fifth go? Just wait till you get back. Along with muttering under her breath, Qin Chuan saw Su Ging come out from the corner with both hands tucked into her sleeves. She wasn't like Wang Taijun, hanging her head and looking around nervously. With one glance, she spotted Qin Chuan. Their eyes met across 50 meters. Su Guiying looked stunned, but she did notice the roe deer fur coat on Qin Chuan and the basket on his back. Qin Chuan looked at her, the corners of his mouth lifting slightly. Cold as a blade. Su Guiying turned around and ran toward her home, rushed inside, and shut the door. Qin Chuan walked along slowly, his ears twitched. Qin Chuan's come to the village again. Well, eldest, go seduce him. What? Mom, what are you telling me to do? I'm telling you to pretend to seduce him. He's wearing a roe deer fur coat and carrying a basket on his back. It looks heavy, there must be food in it. We have to get it, otherwise with only these potatoes at home, we'll all starve to death. Su Guiying's idea was simple. Before Zhao Laowu came back, she didn't dare do anything to Qin Chuan. So for now, she'd placate him and try her best to get back the grain she'd lost. Or at least trick some food back. It won't be too late to settle accounts after autumn. Qin Chuan heard it clearly, and it was so damn ridiculous he laughed. All right. After searching everywhere without finding it, now it's come right to me. Then I'll play along with you. When he was almost at Su Guiying's door, the eldest daughter Lu Fang opened the door and came out. She shivered when she saw Qin Chuan, but still forced herself, tugging at her braided pigtails, and walked up to Qin Chuan. Da Chuan, it's good that you're okay. Earlier, you really scared us to death. You have no idea how worried I was about you. As she spoke, she slipped her hand inside the chest of Qin Chuan's roe deer fur coat and started feeling around. My mom just has a sharp tongue and a soft heart. Don't be like that with her. Can't I apologize to you on her behalf? You can do whatever you want. Whatever I want. Qin Chuan asked in surprise. Lu Fang twisted her body. You bad thing. Why are you looking at me like that? All right, I get what you mean. Go wait for me at the team's granary, and I'll come a little later, okay? Qin Chuan deliberately swallowed. That's not good, is it? We're close relatives, and the children would be unhealthy. Lu Fang shot him a look. You're really greedy. It's already good enough to let you have a taste. Qin Chuan immediately shook his head. No deal. These 7 big fat fish of mine are for getting myself a wife. One whose belly can make some noise. What's her name has a prettier face than you, bigger breasts than you, and a rounder butt than you. No deal, no deal. Wherever it's warm, get yourself there. 7 big fat fish. Lu Fang froze for a moment, then lifted the cloth curtain, and her drool almost started falling right away. The last time she ate fish was back in autumn, and they weren't even this big. Hey, what are you doing? Trying to snatch them? Qin Chuan swung his body and stepped back. Lu Fang said, Nonsense, have you seen them? How can you say they're bigger than mine? Qin Chuan chuckled. My eyes are a measuring stick. Give me one fish, and I'll let you reach in and have a feel. Lu Fang said. Qin Chuan leaned in slightly. Your face. How long has it been since you washed it? Sure is thick-skinned. All right, don't hold me up. Even if you let me do you for free, I'd still think it's a waste of energy. Besides, I'm a moral person. He waved his hand and started walking forward. Seeing it wasn't going to work, Lu Fang immediately ran back. Qin Chuan stood where he was, narrowing his eyes slightly, ears twitching as he listened. 7 fish? Over 3 gene each. Mom, this is hard to handle. He seems smarter than before. Who knows which family's girl he's got his eye on. He's planning to use those fish to start a family. Start his ass, he's just got women on his mind. That makes this easy to deal with. Soon enough, Su Guiying ran out. Qin Chuan walked forward like he meant business, but not fast. Su Guiying ran over and grabbed Qin Chuan, her eyes practically about to pop into the basket. Da Chuan, tell your aunt honestly, did you take my family's grain or not? Whose aunt are you? Qin Chuan questioned coldly. Su Guiying raised both hands and said with a smile, all right, still angry, huh? Fine, my fault. I'll apologize to you, okay? I heard Fong Fong say just now that you're looking for a girl. So what? Qin Chuan said coldly. Su Guiying said, Da Chuan, you're not young anymore. It's normal to want to taste what a woman is like, but you have to choose carefully. Don't be impulsive for a moment. If you're pinned up and uncomfortable, your aunt and you aren't blood-related anyway. Since you don't even recognize me as your aunt anymore, then that relation doesn't count either. How about we start over? I can help you relieve yourself. When Qin Chuan heard that, he looked around and asked in a low voice, really? If that's the case, I'll give you all these fish, as long as you don't tell anyone. From now on, whenever I want to, you say yes, then I'll keep giving you fish. I've figured out the trick now. I'm really good at fishing. Su Guiying's eyes lit up at once. Let's go. To the storage room. Qin Chuan said, wait a bit. I need to take care of something first. Just wait for me, okay? And let's walk separately too. Su Guiying threw him a flirtatious glance. I'll wait for you. 7 fish. Qin Chuan grinned. 7. I've counted them several times. The moment he turned around, his expression was as calm as the biting cold wind as he walked toward Wang Shengli's house. Watching Qin Chuan's back, Su Guiying hurried back to her room. Fong, in a little while, time it right. Then go to the storage room and catch the two of us in the act. We'll use this to get him under control, make him hand over his sister, and sign his name with his fingerprint. After that, he'll still have to work as free labor for our family. Mom, you won't be the one taking a loss, right? Him. That brat doesn't understand a thing. Would he even know where to start? Dumb as a post. I can fool him as easily as playing around. Qin Chuan heard it all clearly and sneered inwardly. You're really asking to die? He knocked on Wang Shengli's door. Who is it? Along with a woman's voice, the door opened. Ma'am, is Uncle Wang home? Qin Chuan asked with a smile. It was clearly a polite and friendly smile. But the auntie still gave a frightened shudder, subconsciously nodding. Yes. Actually, Qin Chuan was quite good-looking, pretty spirited too. It was just that this whole coming back from the dead thing was too damn bizarre. Even though everyone had heard from their family members that he had only gone into shock and fallen unconscious, suddenly seeing him appear in front of them still made their hearts tighten. Qin Chuan saw it and understood it. If it were him, he'd probably react the same way. Da Chuan's here. The houses in the village weren't very big, and Wang Shengli's house was considered relatively large, with east and west rooms opened into 2 sections. Across the hall in the middle was the kitchen. Both daughters in the family had married out, leaving only one son by their side, about the same age as my family's 5th child. Right now he was still a money-losing burden who could eat his old man into the poorhouse. Qin Chuan walked into the room without taking off his basket and said with a smile, Thank you, Grandpa Wang, for what happened before. What's there to thank me for? Sit inside. Wang Shengli raised a hand. Qin Chuan didn't stand on ceremony either. He also glanced toward the west room. No one lived there, and it was full of vegetables being grown. Wang Shengli subtly shifted to block the view. Da Chuan, feeling better now? I'm fine, nothing's wrong. I just needed some food and recovered. Qin Chuan said. Wang Shengli nodded. It's good that you're better. You really weren't fated to die. Heaven has pity on your family too. Times are hard now. There's nothing to eat, nothing to drink. Your uncle can't help you much either, Da Chuan. Just endure it, hold on, and when spring comes, have your 3rd brother work for the production team. Then he'll earn work points, and your family will have it a little easier. Part of it was kindness, and part of it was to shut Qin Chuan up. He had come carrying a basket on his back. What did that mean? It meant every household would come borrow grain. Most likely this would start with his own family, wanting him, the team leader, to set an example. He could lend a little, but the moment he opened that door, it was a statement. No household had enough to eat. Wouldn't that just get people cursing him behind his back? Help Qin Chuan alone and offend the whole village. Without support, could his road as brigade leader still go far? As soon as Qin Chuan heard this, he could almost hear the abacus clacking. So he decided to be direct. Grandpa Wang, I didn't come this time to borrow grain. I came to ask you to help put me on record, to take over my dad's post and become the team's mountain patrol guard. For one thing, we already live up on the mountain, so whether we guard it or not, we have to stay there. For another, I want to make a living by hunting, and I need you to issue me a gun. It's not that hunting is forbidden, but that's only if no one reports you. Without an official identity, If you wander around the mountains and forests all day, people can slap a spy label on you and suspect you're making secret contact. A mountain patrol guard also earns work points, no less than farming. Why not do it? Wang Xingli said, "Oh, Dachuan, the team is considering this matter too. Look, after your dad and your eldest brother had their accident, your whole family has been up in the mountains with no one experienced around. The mountains aren't like the village, they're quite dangerous. And on top of that, this thing happened to you. Fortunately, nothing really happened, right? So as for this position, you should stop thinking about it. The team is considering giving it to someone else. You can stay in that house for now, and we'll discuss arrangements later."